Hello, Deanna here. Thanks so much for being here. And today's video is going to be a quick walkthrough of my 2022 reading journal. So this journal was just a very cheap journal that I grabbed from the local Dollarama here in Canada. Probably spent about maybe $3 on it, possibly $4. It is coming apart at the seam in places, but it was a nice entry into reading journal for me because I had never used a reading journal before, and so it was a fun way to get very creative about reading journals. So I'm gonna go right into it. And the first page here was one that I created with craft paper, with some stickers, some washi tape, and it just said reading and writing. So I did learn that putting anything on this page here, not always the greatest idea, but this was my first venture into reading journal, so I did pick up a lot of tips along the way and how to do things better. But I do have some washi tape both on the top and the bottom there, and stickers and things like that. I did have reading and writing, though this just became my reading journal. And then, as you already saw at the beginning of the video, I have my 2022 title page, which again, I had some craft paper that I used with some book theme, some stickers and things like that. Some of them from the dollar store, some of them from Etsy, some of them from a Happy Planner sticker pack. So it's just ways to really kind of tie this together and make it a fun little title page. So for me, my 2022 journal only started in June of 2022 because that is when I started my reading journal. So that's when I started using bullet journals and started really documenting what I was reading in a journal. So I used a very similar type of format and layout where I would have books read, the title, and then at first I started having a quote here or something. This one in particular is from Anne Frank saying, "If we can save even one of our friends, the rest doesn't matter for June." And then I would have all the books I read for the month on a piece of paper. I then tried using little cute stickers here, nice pretty ones, for my star rating, but to me I find that just actually kind of hard to read, and I just didn't really like how it turned out, so I quickly gave that up. But here I'm using a lot of craft paper, some washi tape and things, really just to create this title page for the month of June. And then I was into just using very freehand boxes, no rulers or anything. I wanted to make it very something that I could just grab it and do it quickly without really taking my time too much. And I would just list out little bits of thoughts, little bullet points. Had another little quote here from the Queen of Nothing, and very much had this aesthetic for a while of just putting it in boxes for a bit. And then I put my July TBR on the last page with some craft paper, washi tape again, even just cut out July stickers, and then what I wanted to read, and then I would check them off if I read them. So that's how I started with my bullet journal. Then I got into July, and again, the same kind of format, you know, nice pretty cover. I love like the hollow of the craft paper. The books read, even though it's kind of hard to see on camera, but there is the word books read there. The list, washi tape, all that good stuff. Quote too. You'll never be able to find yourself if you're lost in someone else. All that good stuff. But then quickly July became, well, I had all of these books that I read from January to May because I didn't document them because I only started this in June. Where am I going to put them? And I put a past reads. Plus I was really into journaling and I wanted to just journal. So I went and wrote out all the books that I had read at the beginning of the month as well, using kind of some craft paper, washi tape to kind of make it look like old school kind of, give it that kind of a very antique-like feel almost. And then I just, again, used boxes to list out the books and some bullet points. Made another little page, more books that I read. So it was just a lot of the books that I read for the first half of 2022. And then I had this that I took from my craft paper pack. I just liked how it looked. I made my own little bookshelf here, and I put all the books down, and then I colored them in based on the type of book they were, whether it was like a action or adventure type book, or maybe it was a historical book or romance or things like that. So that's how I did that. And then I was really into Jane Eyre. I had read Jane Eyre, finally finished it in 2022, so I did a whole spread for Jane Eyre. I thought this very much looked like Jane Eyre from the paper pack that I had. Even wrote out the title and everything. Put like a much bigger quote that I really liked about Helen Burns, and then I used stickers and things like that just to really make this come together and put my thoughts about the book. So that was my first like full spread, and then I went back to using the boxes again. So I've got my Percy Jackson series here where I just put it all in boxes and had them all together. Then more boxes as well for the rest of July. So that was all of July, and then I had my August TBR with all the books I wanted to read in August, and it had a very much a Greek kind of theme, because I had like 3 books on here that were Greek mythology and had that theme, so I ended up putting that, and I feel like this kind of like gives me a little bit of like Greek vibes and the beach vibes and all that good stuff. So I use that once again, very same format where I would have my books read title, I would have the month, and I would have some craft paper, books listed, and a quote, which I took this one from Circe. This is what it means to swim in the tide, to walk the earth, and feel it touch your feet. This is what it means to be alive. I really like that quote, but I had that very much vibe. And then I had second full spread, but this is where I really got into focusing on 2-page spreads, because I continued to do some boxes, but this I had to give Circe its moment because I absolutely loved this book, one of my favorites, and I had to go ahead and give it all 2 pages. And then from there, having some thoughts on it, just giving it, I love this. I copied out what the cover page looked like. I did that with my freehand, and I just really liked how that turned out. So then I did it again for Ariadne, and I did 2 whole pages for Ariadne, again giving like maybe a quote and then some of my thoughts, and even copying some of the elements from the book and the cover page. I really loved this. So then I again did it for the woman in the white kimono, and again I had like a picture. This one was a side profile, took some elements, used craft paper and things like that, had quote here, and then just some of my thoughts, plus mentioning it was my book club choice for August. So that was some of what I was doing for those spreads. And then I did incorporate a little bit more of the boxes into the mysteries that I read for the month of August, and just kind of created my own little title page about mysteries and took a quote from Ray Bradbury. So that's something I did. I would mark if I listened to it by audiobook with a little audiobook symbol. So that was there. And then I had another 2-page, I read a lot in August and did a lot of 2-page spreads apparently. I had The Secret Wife by Gil Paul, which is about the Romanovs, which really sent me on a deep dive to find out more about the Romanovs. And I just printed out some pictures from Google of the actual Romanov family and of Tatiana, and I ended up putting that all in here with some of my thoughts as well on the book. Really liked how this one turned out with like the stickers of like the roses in with Tatiana. I don't know if those are roses, but I liked how the stickers of the flowers looked, the pink flowers looked with Tatiana, and just the colors and everything looked together. And then I had some more boxes for a couple books I didn't really enjoy as much and didn't want to dedicate full spreads to. I had my September TBR where I listed a bunch of books I read, but I think I had such a big read in August. I read so much, and then I pushed myself to read 2 books I didn't really like. I kind of got into a little bit of a reading slump, so I only really read 3 of like the 7 books that I had picked out, or I think I had 8 here. 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, I had. So I only checked off 3 of the 8 books that I had listed in my plan to read. So yeah, I got into a little bit of a reading slump in September. And then September was set up very similar. Books read, title, craft paper, another quote. This one saying, to seek the stars, to serve the light, to guide the worlds. And the books that I read, which these ones I read only 3 from my TBR, and then I ended up reading a series from Nora Roberts that I stumbled upon. And yes, I gave it like kind of fall-like themes for September. I read The Home for Unwanted Girls, which broke my heart reading this one, especially since it was so close to home. But I took, again, inspiration from the title page, the cover page, and I put the little legs of the little orphan girl, The Home for Unwanted Girls, and have the little flowers. And actually, they're not always even orphans. That's a misrepresentation. A lot of these little girls were actually little girls born out of wedlock, a lot of them. So it was children given up for adoption in some way, or they were in an orphanage perhaps. And it ended up they were then switched because of some legislation, which kind of says here, they were falsely diagnosed as children with mental disorders and essentially placed into institutions for individuals with mental issues and things like that. So it was pretty hard to read sometimes, just reading about it and some of the things. But that was a book that I read in September. Then I read I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jennette McCurdy, again taking elements from the cover page because Jennette is on the cover holding a pink urn, so I kind of recreated that because there's no way I was doing justice to Jennette McCurdy by trying to draw her. So I just drew the urn itself and then put in like some of the elements from the book, and I used the color scheme that she had too, which was like the pinks and the yellows to kind of go together. I really enjoyed this book. I listened to it on audiobook, so that was that one. Then I read The Maidens. Not my favorite, but I really like how this one turned out with the elements, with me drawing the little skull and drawing Persephone and just the way that this looks against the black. Like, I just really like this, and I had a lot to say about the book as well. But yes, and then I have my series, which is the Guardians trilogy from Nora Roberts. I'm kind of bummed that this wasn't over here. I wish they were all one way. I was going to do one and then one and then one, but when I used this pen and it leaked through, I ended up just putting that there. And really, again, I kind of wish I had done things differently in some way. Like, this bleeds through to that now, so I can kind of see it there because it's very thin paper for this book. I wish it was all one way, but you know what? You do it and you learn as you go. So I do like how these ones all turned out, and that like I have the Reach for the Stars washi tape for them all. That was kind of cool, especially since they're searching for the stars. And I did draw all of these elements. I really liked how my mermaid turned out. And then I got my wolf howling at the moon. But this was a great series. I really, really loved this series. And that was it for September, but I didn't do a typical TBR where it was on the last page because I had done 2-page spreads and didn't really have anywhere to do it. So then what I did for October is I put the TBR down here at the bottom with like the washi tape separating and just putting the words TBR. So I've got my cover page, the book read still. I've got something from the craft paper that says being wicked is more fun. So I even got rid of like my quote because I was finding it where I just didn't really want to pull a quote anymore. I was just, again, adapting, learning as I go. And then I had the books that I read, and thankfully my TBR, I was able to check off most of them, just not Invisible Life because I saved it for my birthday month. But this is all of the books. If you're ever interested, I know this is like halfway through the video and I should have said this at the beginning, but if you are going through this with me and you're like, ooh, I want to see more about that, or ooh, I really like that. Almost all of these books in here, I would say, except for maybe some of the older writing here where I did the past reads, but almost everyone that has a spread especially too, I did a video on it. So you can find them on my channel. I also usually do a monthly walkthrough as well. So if you want more in-depth information, go and check those videos out and you will see that I have more in-depth reviews and more in-depth information. This is just a really quick walkthrough. So glad that's out of the way. Sorry it took me so long to say it, but let's continue to go through. So October, probably my least favorite spread in the whole book. I just don't like how this one turned out. I don't like how the construction paper turned out. I was trying something new. I don't really like my drawing of the monkey as much. I do kind of think this looks funny with the hand coming out of the chest of ice, which is what that's supposed to represent, even though it looks like buried treasure, especially with the guy in the map or in the pirate's hat. But not my favorite spread, but I did have a lot to say apparently about the book. Then I got Verity, which was exclusively craft paper. There's like not any just regular paper other than where the washi tape is here. The title of Verity, the house of kind of where Verity is, and then some of my thoughts. And I kind of use this paper because of the writing element in the book, because it's based on like authors. So yes, more info if you want that. Go check out my channel for more videos. Then I've got The Witches of Moonshine Manor, one of my favorite reads that I didn't really reference in my favorite reads. Check out that video too if you want. But this was one that I really did enjoy, and I do like the way this spread came together because it's got like elements of like witchcraft and stuff like that. And I again had some good things to say, had a quote that I really liked. Can't understand why for so long people feared the witches instead of the men who burned them alive. And then all the witches that were mentioned in the book. So I love that. This spread, Pretty Dead Queens, is not, again, my favorite. I don't like it. I don't dislike it as much as I dislike the Bad Monkey one. But I just feel like I just didn't give this book very much justice. I think I was kind of getting a little like, I don't know what to do, how to like tie it in. I was thinking a little too much of like, how does the craft paper match the book and things like that. And I was being a little too much like that. Plus, you see, I didn't have as much to say, so my words are even much bigger. I feel like this should have been a one-page spread, or maybe even a box again of just what I thought about Pretty Dead Queens, because it was a quick read, and you can see more on my channel if you want to check out what all my thoughts are. It just wasn't my favorite read, and so to dedicate a whole 2-page spread to it, I think just kind of showed, I think I can tell that it wasn't as great. But then I had The House Witch, which was a complete flip, and this is a 5-star. The House Witch by Delamarque, and I love like Come Gather for a Spell, if you can see that there on the cover. Their craft paper kind of fits into like the House Witch theme, and then again took some of those elements there from the witchiness, and then I had some things to say, and yeah, I don't even think I could fit everything in of what I wanted to say, but yes, I really enjoyed that book. Then I've got Listening in the Dark, and this is the first one where I just like straight up did the black craft paper and used the gel pens. Like I had been using the black paper, as you see I got like a pack of like black, and I've been using them as like, because it made it look like chalkboard almost to me, and or something. I just really loved how it looked. But this is the first one where I was like, boom, full spread. I had to cut it because I had it all the way to here, but then it started bending every time I flipped these pages, so then I had to cut it here as best as I could. Just, so that's why maybe it's not as even, and that's why the white's peeking through, because it just did not like being a full spread. Had to have a little bit of the light peeking through. But this one was Listening in the Dark by Amber Tamblyn. I have a video again, all of these ones. I really love how I pulled like some of the women here was from a sticker pack I had. They look really cool with like the different stars, and like the writing of the gel pen is like so similar to like their outline that it just all kind of goes together. So I really love how this one turned out, and it was a pretty good book. I did enjoy listening to this book. I did do this one by audiobook. It's a whole collection of different essays from women about women's intuition, so I really recommend checking this book out. And again, I have a whole video if you're interested. Then into November, which is my birthday month, and it was just a month where I was like, you know what? I've clearly been a bit exhausted. I am just gonna let this be my fun month and just be like a really chill, relaxed, fun month. So November, I found this in my craft paper. It just like felt like that was my vibe very much. Let me just chill. You know, a little cute cat even says chillin', I think, on it. I like some of the stickers that I had, like some Etsy shop stickers. Yeah, and then literally I only read 3 books in November. So I was like, yeah, it's November, no pressure. So I put, because November is my birthday month, I was thinking of all like my favorite things and things I like. So I was like, well, let me highlight all of my 5-star books. So I took this craft paper here from my craft pack, put 5 stars, and then I just made another bookshelf very similar to the other bookshelf I have, but this one is all of my 5-star reads, and then I actually have my index here, or like my key guide to say what the color is, what that then type it is. So pink is romance, and then so I could easily identify what is what, and it's all like by genre of book, but these are all my 5-star books. So okay, enough about this one. And then I have The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, which I read this one in November. Again, I found some craft paper which just like screamed Addie LaRue to me. She loves books, she loves reading, and you can never see her face really, so I love that. And then I loved this because this was a craft pack from a craft pack that I have that has some like older like antique kind of early 1900s, maybe late 1800s kind of vibe. So I kind of thought that was kind of fitting with Addie LaRue, who has lived a very long time. So I got some things to say, and I just really liked how that one turned out as well. Then we've got Matthew Perry's Friends, Lovers, and the Big Terrible Thing. So this one was an audiobook, and I took some elements. I used some stickers that I had to write out that. Then I used, this was a freehand writing that I used, hand lettering. Then I've got some stickers that I have from a Friends pack because I'm a huge Friends fan, and just had little stickers here and there to kind of tie in some of the themes that he talks about in the book. And I really do like how this one turned out with the craft paper and everything. I had lots to say, and I've got a whole video on this one too. Like, just, yeah, I really enjoyed this. And then I love how this looks. I love it so much. I love like the My World, again, from like that craft paper pack that I have, which is a lot about reading. Use a little bit of washi tape to just kind of like cut up the page a bit. And then I used a different book that I have, a different bullet journal that I have that has like off-white color, like kind of a cream kind of color, kind of beige type. I used those pages to just like draw out my TBR, because I got my TBR again, and then to just write one of the final books that I had read for the month of November. But there was my TBR, to be read books that I didn't finish, and was kind of like, well, what am I going to read them? But I just kind of put them all on my TBR here. But I really love like the color and how this all looks. So one of my favorite pages. And then we get into December, which some people would do like December, okay, like focus on like the holidays, like, you know, Christmas, things like that. I just did like cozy vibes. Very much cozy vibes, sweaters, you know, being comfy, being cozy, snuggle up, reading a book. Again, I only read 3 books though, so end of the year, I guess my peak month was August, clearly. That was the one I had the most that I read. And December, I just had a lot going on, just wasn't in as much of a reading mood, I guess. So, but very much same vibes of like the title, the books read, all that, using washi tape, using stickers, all that kind of stuff. And then for December, instead of just listing the books I read, I thought I would kind of wrap up some of my final things for the year, because this is it. This is going to be the last of this reading journal. So then I put my DNF list, which I have a whole video. So these are all the books I did not finish, and I put like reasons maybe why, and I put little stickers of like, am I going to return to them? Do I think I'm not going to? Yeah, I've got a whole video if you want to see more of this and me go through all of my DNFs, but this was did not finish it for the month, and some of them I didn't finish for reasons of I just wasn't enjoying the book, and other was because maybe I just haven't had time or just want to give the book a better moment. So yes, that was very much my DNF list. Then going from DNF, sorry if I'm like losing the light, but from DNF I then had my top favorite reads and my worst reads. So here's a list of 5 books that I really loved and 5 books that I didn't really love as much. So again, I have a whole video on this where I go through them and maybe the reasons why, but I really liked this one. Took me a bit to really kind of work with. I had to sometimes kind of pick up these stickers, move them around and stuff to make them fit properly. I even wrote out a couple wrong, and then I was like, wait a minute, I screwed up there, and had to like kind of fix it with some of paper on paper, which you might not even really see that well, but that's just how well it all came together. But yeah, I just used like the same kind of paper. It was very much using like the same craft paper, because it's got like, I don't know if you can see, but it's got little snowflakes on it and stuff. So it's just giving. I was hoping to do this all in one shot, but apparently I just ramble too much no matter what. So then I don't know where I left off because the camera died. So I had top, best, and worst reads. And then I get into the books that I actually read for December. So I've got The Girl Who Fell Beneath the Sea, which was the book club choice read. It says that there, and I have some things I thought about it. I almost kind of wish I'd given myself more space to write about the book and what I thought, but I do really love how this title comes out, and I did like the 2 little birds, because birds are kind of referenced in the story, and like the paper boat, and then I had my craft paper there to kind of tie it all in together there. So yes, there we go. I'm sorry, like my light is just not working as well, my light source. I feel like I'm like losing light. It looks very dark for me on the screen, so hopefully you guys can see it. And then I went into the next one was Season of Wonder, which I took some holiday cards Christmas cards that I had gotten in the mail from family that were kind of old, and it's like, ooh, do I like throw them out because they're getting old, or do I repurpose them and make them into some art in my reading journal? So that's what I did, because it's a small town kind of Hallmark vibe, and I just kind of took some of those elements and put them in here. So like, you can make lots of things for your reading journal. Just willing on what you want to play with. And then the final book I read for the month, or for the year of 2022, was A Curse So Dark and Lonely, which really love that, and it's just like the dark vibes and the forest and everything. And then that was it. So the rest of it's just all blank now, because that was it for me for 2022. That is all of what I went through. So I really started, you can tell I started with like just the boxes, trying to keep it like simple, you know, even though like washi tape to like kind of make it pretty. And then I got right into like craft paper and drawing sometimes, and yeah, just here and there. So it very much evolved and has become something. But you know what, that's part of the joy of having reading journals, is it kind of grows with you, and it kind of makes it whatever you need it to be, as long as you're like willing to be a little adaptable with it and just have fun with it. So here's all of my books. I'll flip through there, and that was my journal for 2022. So now instead of using, because like look at how much I used just from July, or from June to December too, like oh my goodness, and I've only got like a little bit left. Did not want to start January of 2023 in here, because I just thought, well, it's not enough space, plus I don't really want to have to like pick up one and have it like halfway through. So you know what, I was just like, you know what, I've got a bunch of journals that I haven't even used yet, such as my Scribbles That Matter journal that I bought myself. And so instead, I've gone ahead and started my 2023 in here. So I've got like my book club books, because I didn't really have in my other journal somewhere where I just listed all of the book club's reads, because sometimes I wouldn't even know if it was a book club read unless like, you know, I would always put book club read, but sometimes even just flipping through with you right here, I couldn't tell all of the ones that were book club or not. So I mean, I forgot Library of the Dead was book club. So I thought, you know what, I'll go ahead and just have one place where all of our book club reads are listed. I'm kind of here and there on how this really looks, but whatever, it's just a title there and somewhere to list it out with all the months. And it was a way to kind of use this index, these index pages as well. I might use the rest of them in some other way, don't know yet. Then I've got my main title page for my 2023 reading journal. I used that bullet journal page that I'd used for November. I'd use another one just for the title here to kind of give it some contrast between the white and like the creamy kind of off-white color. I used craft paper. I used a lot of stickers, more craft paper. I just really just had some fun with creating this, and I made it just a reading journal this time instead of reading and writing. But I gave it a whole 2 spread for the actual title, and then when it came to January, oh, and also before this one, clearly I had reading and writing, and then my 2022 as 2 separate, because I thought I was gonna have reading and writing 2022 and then it wasn't gonna be much, and then I was gonna have 2023 and then like 2024, but no, like I said, I wanted a whole new book. So this is just gonna be straight up 2023 reading journal. And here's my January already, and how I've got my books read. I kind of have it different here. I can't really see it as well, but I've just got books read across the top here on some craft paper, my hand lettering, and then I've just got the January with some stickers for that, and then the craft paper. So there we go. I'm gonna have my books read laid out, and then maybe my quote or something over here. We'll kind of see what I want to do, but there we go. That's my start to my 2023, and that was my entire 2022. So I hope you enjoyed reading. I hope you enjoyed watching this. If you did, give it a thumbs up. I appreciate. I hope you maybe got some inspiration or just like enjoyed kind of flipping through my journal with me. It was a nice little walk down memory lane of all the books I read over 2022, so that's always fun, and I'm excited to really get into my 2023 and continue to read the books that I'm reading. So thank you so much for being here. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, night, evening, whatever time it is, wherever you are. Thank you so much for being here. Take care of yourselves, and you will see me next time. Bye!